Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here on the channel. You joined me at the Chicago Drives Electric event where Jeep was kind enough to bring a couple of Cherokee hybrids, the 2026 models, which of course are all new. And we're gonna take a quick look at this limited trim level behind me, which is gonna be the second highest within the trim lineup that they've currently confirmed. We have the regular Cherokee, the Laredo, which is actually a black one sitting behind there. I'll get a few clips of that. We have a limited as well as a higher overland trim level, and basically just take a first look and first impression of this vehicle. Of course, we can't drive it quite yet. That information is still under embargo, and these vehicles are expected to go on sale by the end of this calendar year into early next year. So very excited to see these out on the roadway and see what this all new next generation Cherokee has to offer. So let's go ahead and take a quick look, first impression, and see what this limited trim level has to offer. So the Cherokee in front of us is finished in the Hero color, which is the Hydro Blue Pearl exterior. It is a limited trim level with the light gray leather interior. Now, starting at the front end, you can see it gets a totally different design language from that of the outgoing Cherokee, which was a little more rounded off, a little bit more sculpted, where this one is much more square in all dimensions, which helps out with cargo volume and some of the other interior attributes, which we'll cover in just a few minutes. Now, starting at the front end, you will have the LED reflector headlights, daytime running lights, and turn signals in this outer portion right here. There are going to be LED fog lights at the very bottom of the front fascia, and you can see you have a lot of the standard matte black plastic cladding with future provisions likely for a Trailhawk model, which unfortunately they were not able to confirm at this time as its future product, but don't be surprised if you do see an off-road oriented or more capable Cherokee here in the coming years. We have the radar for the adaptive cruise and some of the other driver assist systems at the front as well. The signature 7-slot grille, which really makes a Jeep Cherokee or any other model a Jeep, with the dark gray gunmetal Jeep badging just above the front fascia there. Now, coming around to the side profile, you will find the standard cladding on the wheel arches and the lower door sections as well. This is going to be a dark gunmetal gray machined 18-inch alloy wheel with a 225/60 18-inch Nexen Rodian GTX, kind of all-season, mild, all-terrain tire. They are investigating a little bit more of a off-road oriented tire, either for a future product trim level or even this particular trim level with optional packages, but just note that's more of a road-going tire at the moment. Cherokee branding here on the two front doors, gloss black mirrors, LED turn signal integration. This vehicle does not have, or excuse me, it does have some of the puddle lights on the bottom, and you're going to have heated blind spot detection mirrors. And you can see the door handles are some of the most unique elements, is they are flush with the body, fixed in place with little triggers or buttons behind them, and the proximity lock and unlock button is located actually inside of the actual hole or cutout in the door panel itself. You can see right there, only on the front doors, not going to be found on the back. You have gloss black trim for the pillars, raised type roof rails for additional tie down points and accessories, and this one does have the optional dual pane sunroof, which I believe runs $19,995. I like the glass here in the rear door, kind of in the C-pillar area, if you will. And then taking a look at the rear of the Cherokee, this is one of the more squared off boxy elements versus that of the last generation. And one of the points that they mentioned, you know, helps with cargo and interior volume and just the overall modern design of this vehicle. It looks like you have full LED lighting at the rear with the taillights, reverse lights, and turn signals all in that upper housing. Down below, you do have a visible exhaust tip here on the driver's side of the vehicle, and you do have rear parking assist sensors. This one does have the optional tech package, which we'll see on the interior with some of those features. 4x4 badging, given this vehicle does come standard with all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive capability. There's the cargo liftgate release, backup camera, Jeep branding, rear wiper, third brake light with washer nozzle up there, and then the limited badge here on the passenger side, because once again, this is a limited trim level. But that's a quick look here at the exterior. I'll go ahead and put more information up on the screen in terms of, you know, what are the features and options and equipment that this one has. It is the Hydro Blue, which is an additional option paint color, which brings the MSRP on this one to just over $46,000, including destination. So this is not a very cheap option within the mid-size two-row SUV space, which we were, you know, discussing a little bit earlier, given it's about 189 inches in total length. So not a small vehicle, but not an overly large one at that. Now, take a look on the interior. This one has the light gray. I think it's called Arctic interior, but there's going to be a black available as well. Starting out here on the door panel, you have a good amount of soft touch and textured materials. This is a pre-production vehicle, so maybe there's one or two things here and there that might not fit or might change for production, but it's very close to the final design. We have a little bit of dark brown accent stitching in this portion, textured, and then this is all going to be soft touch, smooth leather in that lighter gray or white color. It is very close to white. Hard plastics down here and you have power windows, mirrors, and locks, with 2 front windows being fully automatic. Looks like up, down, and then the back windows are just the manual power. Lock, unlock, there's the additional door storage. And one neat thing about the Cherokee, which is gonna be one of a kind of a dislike for me, is going to be the electronic door handle release, which is a button right here with a manual override or emergency release a little bit farther up, just below these switches there. So the reason I don't necessarily love it is the ergonomics of this. It's a little bit far and hard to reach, but is what it is. We'll have to see what it comes out to be like living with this vehicle. We have the tech package, which offers the premium Alpine sound system. And coming to the driver's seat, it's going to be a fully power seat with 2-way power lumbar. There's the lighter Arctic leather, brown accent stitching, perforations in the middle, and there's the dashboard, which is a nice 2-tone effect. So here in the interior of the Cherokee, there's going to be a lot of nice standard features which Jeep is proud and have touted in terms of their digital gauge cluster and infotainment system. So in front of the driver, you're going to find a 10.25-inch fully digital instrument cluster. Unfortunately, I cannot power up this vehicle to show you some of the more advanced functionality, but it is going to be standard, I believe, on every single Cherokee. Along with that is a 12.3-inch infotainment system, which is going to be standard. And this is going to be very competitive in this segment of space, which kind of bridges the gap between the compact and the mid-size vehicles. So you know, next generation technology inside, and overall I think it'll be interesting to see how the overall design, layout, and you know, UI and software does, but I'm sure it's very similar to that of some of their current offerings within their lineup. Now coming back to the steering wheel, this is going to be a more of a squircle or a square circle steering wheel, so you have some weird angles here. It's a little bit thicker than I prefer inside of vehicles. I believe it is going to be heated in this particular vehicle in the equipment that it has. You have some of the digital gauge cluster controls and Bluetooth phone and navigation on the left side. You have some of the driver assist, including the adaptive cruise control on the right side. Feels like you have buttons for the multimedia and infotainment system on the very back, so that is not something that's out of the ordinary there. And nice flat bottom design, but like I said, it is a little bit thicker, which, you know, overall isn't my necessary preference. Turn signal wiper stalk here on the left side. It is pretty easy to access, but a little bit on the shorter side like that of the Wrangler. And then to the left of the steering wheel, it looks like we have our fuel cap release, headlight adjustment, or headlight auto settings. So these are where you turn the headlights on and off. Gauge dimming, electronic parking brake, and it looks like a front hood release electronic with a manual override pretty far down there with a manual tilt telescopic steering column. Nice textured trim on the dash in a lighter or medium gray accent. AC vents. This is all nice soft touch across the dash with lighter accent stitching. However, when the sun is out, there's actually a grooved portion of the dashboard up there where the audio system lies that actually reflects up onto the glass, and it is a little bit distracting in certain lighting situations, especially early this morning before the sun was really up in the sky. So that is something to pay attention to when you're test driving or looking at this vehicle. Already touched on the infotainment system. It does have physical volume and tune knobs. We have some of the automatic climate control, I believe dual zone, just below all of that. It is kind of more of a touch sensitive slash physical button. You can see the entire bezel does move a little bit, but interested to see how that actually functions when I have a little bit more time with the vehicle. We have the lane departure, traction control, low gear mode, so maybe something with the all-wheel drive system there. Parking sensors on off, and then USB-C charge and data ports. Nice cubby down below here in this middle storage section. And one thing I wanted to point out in terms of the center console is going to be how wide it is. It is very, very wide. We have multiple people here discussing this in a little bit more detail. And the reason I say that is moving the seat up to my actual driving position, it's going to be in the vicinity of this. My knee is contacting this, you know, hard plastic pretty, you know, aggressively, to the point where it's kind of impacting getting comfortable in the driver's seat. So again, something to pay attention to. I'm sure this is going to be mentioned in some other viewers or content creators videos. I just wish this was a little bit more narrow and a little bit more streamlined to make a little bit more interior space for the two front occupants. Engine start stop button here in this gloss black trim. This must be in audio multimedia, or excuse me, probably gear selection or shifter for the transmission down below that. We have a drive mode selection. It looks like you have Sand, mud, snow, auto, and sport drive modes right there. Automatic vehicle hold. We have a hill descent control button there. 2 large cup holders with a little phone storage in the middle. Same textured lines or grooves here as you'll find around the rest of the interior across the dashboard and that upper dash panel there. Soft touch padded armrest. Inside you'll find the wireless phone charger and possibly digital keypad right here. So it's a vertical slide-in orientation with a little holder that gets snug. 12-volt outlet in the bottom, as well as a little light and a good amount of storage space in that center console. And then coming up top, we have the black pillars. Nice soft touch headliner with looks like microphones for maybe the stereo system, as well as the voice commands. Vandy illumination. We have the auto dimming interior view mirror, which is mounted fairly low in the actual glass space. It's not a very tall vertically windshield, so it is kind of front and center, if you will, with some of the cameras and sensors up there for the safety equipment. Overhead LED illumination. Panoramic sunroof is optional, but this one is equipped with it. And we have the sunglasses storage, emergency SOS, and it looks like the power tailgate button is actually located up here, which is a unique location. Usually it's, you know, to the left of the steering wheel or something like that. But there's a look at the panoramic sunroof, which is much more open and traditional versus others that might compete in this space. But yeah, that's a look here at the front seat. Let's go ahead and take a look out back. Speaking of that door handle release, that's kind of how it functions. So it is a little bit of reach. I wish it was just a little bit farther up and back, because you kind of have to twist your arm and really reach for it to get in and out of the vehicle. But take a look at the second row seats. One of the gains or benefits of the extended wheelbase and length of this vehicle is going to be in second row and cargo space. So in terms of materials, it looks like hard touch plastics at the top, but you have the same soft touch for the armrest, things like that. Interestingly enough, back here you have lock and unlock buttons in addition to the standard window switchgear. Good amount of bottle storage with that premium audio system. Take a look at the leather wrapped seats. You can see mostly the same as the front. And then stepping inside, this again is pretty close to my driving position. You can see I have a good amount of space, you know, 6+ inches of legroom, good amount of footroom down below, and headroom I learned is best in class with a panoramic sunroof equipped vehicle. And you can see just how tall I have. 2 to 3 inches of headroom easily, and the seat does have a 2-position latch, which means it will recline just a little bit, not fully recline like vehicles like the Hyundai Tucson or others in the segment in which this vehicle does compete, and we'll touch on that a little bit more towards the end of this video. But in terms of amenities, looks like we have 1 map pocket on the right side, AC vents, 2 USB-C charge ports. I don't see any standard wall outlet. You have more of that line groove texture down there. And then take a look at the front seat and the dashboard. You can see just how modern and up-to-date it looks. I like the white and black two-tone, but it sure will show a little bit more wear and tear and dirt and oils over time if equipped. In terms of the seat, we have a center armrest with 2 cup holders. Seats fold down 60-40 split. And yeah, overall, I think it's pretty impressive the amount of space you have, even with the optional panoramic sunroof. Now coming out to the cargo area, again, this is one of the key benefits of this new wheelbase, chassis, and platform, as well as the squared off design, is going to be the cargo volume. I think they said it's in the upper 30 cubic feet, so you have tons of space back here. Of course, the seats do fold down for additional storage and cargo space. On the left side, you have the power tailgate button to close it. A little bit of tie-down points for cargo nets and accessories. We have the subwoofer for the Alpine premium audio system, 12-volt outlet, a little bit of additional cubby, and then down below, the spare tire is optional on this one. It has the tire mobility kit, it looks like, from factory as standard. But if you don't get the spare tire, you see just how much underfloor storage cargo space you have, which is not something you normally find in a vehicle of this segment or class. Now coming to the passenger front seat, looks like we will get a power passenger seat on this Limited with the equipment with 2-way lumbar, not something you see all the time in this segment. There's a look at the dashboard. Taking a look at the glove box, it is damped. Looks like we have the actual Monroney in the glove box, which we've been looking for. So this one is $46,380, like I said, with the Hydro Blue paint, the limited trim level with the Tech Group and dual pane panoramic sunroof. So this information is publicly available, and I'll go ahead and of course have the information up on screen. Fuel economy has not been confirmed quite yet, but they do expect the Cherokee Hybrid to come in at 37 mpg combined under their testing, and they expect that to be certified by the EPA. Let's go ahead and pop it and see what powers this particular vehicle before wrapping this video up. Under the hood of every Cherokee, you're going to find a 1.6 liter turbo 4-cylinder paired to a 2-motor electric hybrid drivetrain producing 210 horsepower and 230 pound-feet of torque. Now, this is a European-derived powertrain, the first time that's used, I believe, in the North American market. And it says been a pretty robust and reliable engine overseas. And it's interesting to see this powertrain used in this segment, as some of the competition actually uses something very similar to it versus that of a naturally aspirated engine. So performance of this vehicle should be pretty darn good. Like I said, standard 4-wheel drive, and overall I think it will be very interesting and competitive to see the mid to upper 30 mpg range in combined type of driving. Now, quickly before we wrap up today's video, here is the Laredo trim level, which is going to be one step up from the base Cherokee and one step below the Limited that I did just showcase, finished in the black. You'll notice it has the same exact 18-inch alloy wheel design, the same tire setup as well. You get painted, it looks like body color mirror caps. You're losing some of the turn signal integration. Panoramic sunroof, of course, is not standard on this trim level. It could be optional, but this is just to give you an idea of what the Laredo looks like. Mostly the same in terms of appearance, a little bit less silver trim than the Limited, as this is, a little bit cheaper price point, a little bit less equipment and features, and will come with the cloth interior. Not sure quite if you can upgrade it to a leather or a synthetic leather on the inside. Unfortunately, this one is locked, or excuse me, it is unlocked. So we can go ahead and take a look here, but you can see some nice light gray, black accents. Very similar dashboard with all the same standard gauge cluster and technology on the inside. Leather wrapped steering wheel, which is very nice to see there. And then taking a look out back, you can see a lot of the things are going to be very similar between these two, but this one might have some of the optional equipment that you get on the Laredo to make it similar to that of the standard equipment of the Limited. But yeah, that is basically going to do it here for this walk around tour and first impressions of the all new 2026 Jeep Cherokee Limited and Laredo trim levels here from the Chicago Drives Electric event. Upon my first impressions, like I said, I pointed out a few things that I weren't so impressed by or are a little bit concerned about in terms of day-to-day usability. Things like the electronic door handle release on the inside, some glare across the dashboard, and the center console to me is going to be the biggest one in terms of interior space, legroom, especially for taller drivers that might want to get behind the wheel of the Cherokee. So all in all, I will have to wait and see what my final impressions of this vehicle are, but those are going to be my first initial impressions and some of the concerns and maybe items to look out for as these vehicles become available. You check them out at your local dealership and things like that. But coming in at the, I think, low $30,000 price point to start, standard hybrid system, and then going up near the $50,000 price point, fully loaded for an overland trim level, is a little bit of an interesting strategy because, as we know, this vehicle competes in some of the compact segment, but also with some of the mid-size two-row vehicles as well, as it kind of is a little bit in between these vehicles, much larger than that of a Hyundai Tucson or a Kia Sportage, for example, just a couple inches shorter than a Hyundai Santa Fe or a Sorento, which is a 3-row mid-size on the smaller end of that segment. So they're positioning this vehicle as a mid-size 2-row internally, but externally across media and other things like that. It technically competes with Tucson Hybrid, RAV4 Hybrid, which of course is going to be all new, upcoming here very shortly next year. And ultimately, I think the price point is just going to be a little bit higher than some of those competitors. But then again, you're getting a slightly larger vehicle, maybe a little bit more capability. We'll have to see how that evolves over time with the maybe future Trailhawk model. And fuel economy, all that is very competitive with the segment, as well as the performance figures. So I think I'm just going to leave it at that. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you like this Cherokee? Is there anything about it that you don't like? What's your overall impression? Have you seen one in person? I believe they're starting to roll out some of these at the auto shows and things like that as we get closer to the on sale date, which they say is December of this year. So just a couple months away at this point. And it is going to be built on the same line as the Wagoneer all electric variant, as it is built on the Stella large platform. So same platform that can do fully electric, hybrid, or fully gas models, which is pretty cool to see indeed. So let me know all that down in the comment section below. As always, I appreciate continued support. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Stay tuned for future content. And with all being said, I hope to see you guys in the next one.